All right, Brenda, thank you very much. We're ready for our class two, part two here of the tricks behind threats, unmasking social engineering in cybersecurity. I'm glad to be here, and let's get it started. This event is sponsored by Vanderson Cyber Group, my company, as well as Nevada, SBDC Nevada, and also UNR Extension as well. Wanted to give a shout out to WWDB TV as well. My name is Mac Jackson Jr. I'm the instructor, professor here. I'm CEO, president of Vanderson Cyber Group. I'm also a part-time professor at DeVry University, part-time professor at Texas A&M University. We work with FEMA and Homeland Security, providing cybersecurity awareness training education for the public and also the media and multiple government agencies as well. I'm also a host of Cybersecurity Awareness TV and a consultant, but overall, I am a native here of Las Vegas, Nevada. Good morning, Brenda. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm so glad you're here. And let me introduce myself really fast for everyone. My name is Brenda Bryant. I am a small business instructor here at UNR Extension. And it is my pleasure to always welcome those who are the experts in the field as we try to bring you the best information that we can. And you have met our expert for this class, Mr. Mac Jackson Jr. I am so happy that you are here, Matt. Take it away. It's all yours.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you. Honored to be here. And thank you for our guests that are part of our lecture series here today. This lecture series is called The Tricks Behind the Threats. And what we're going to do is examine how hackers do what they do and what we could do to prevent it. And there's a lot going on with this. It's much more understandable than you think it is. In this particular webinar, this session will uncover how criminals manipulate human behavior to perform data breaches, right? People who attend this event will understand real-world examples of how social engineering, what it is, and how it's used to manipulate individuals to divulge information about themselves, about their organizations, and how hackers use this type of vulnerability to exploit. What you should find out after this particular lecture series here today is understanding what social engineering is, identify some social engineering tactics that are used. We'll go through a couple of real world experiences that have happened that may affect you and your family and business as well, and how to apply some defenses when it comes to social engineering, how to protect yourself. So we'll check out some statistics first. So if we look at cybersecurity, the threat itself, this information I gathered from the U.S. Department of Justice as well as the Federal Trade Commission. And as you can see here, it states that the cost of a data breach is around $3.62 million, right? And this can affect cities, townships, state, local, federal, all across our country. And like it says here in the second part of the slide, after data breach is conducted here by the bad guys on a small business, it states that 6% of these businesses will fail after 6 months, right? And if you listen to my previous videos, previous episode, you see that a lot of this is done because of these companies. They can no longer stay in business after a cyber attack has happened because of the financial losses that it has incurred, the legal entanglements that have gone on, and the business reputation. Thirdly, we look at from the U.S. Justice Department states that retailers, 95% of all retailers over the last 10 years have been involved in some sort of data breach. So it's really something that everyone should be concerned with, that if you are a consumer and you're purchasing information from a merchant, that 95% of them have been breached. And the fourth here is the easiest or low-hanging fruit for hackers recently, where there's been a rise in data breaches, and that has been in Healthcare, the healthcare sector was targeted for ransomware, and it's one of the low-hanging fruits, and it's the easiest one that hackers are going after because the healthcare industry pays. Unfortunately, they do pay the hackers to get their data back so they could again continue providing proper patient care. Without the healthcare industry and without their data and their records, it's hard for them to take care of their patients the right way, and that's definitely on an increase. It's stated also that cyber crimes will cost businesses $10.5 trillion by the end of this year in 2025. So that's a major concern for all of us. If you're an individual, small business, medium-sized business, or large corporation. So let's take a look at social engineering. What is social engineering? Well, folks, social engineering is a psychological manipulation of individuals into performing acts or divulging confidential information rather than attacking the systems, which is a hardware and software of organization. They will attack the weakest link, and that's the human factor. And I just want to pause for that for a second, folks. As myself, as a ethical hacker, programmer, and a business consultant within cybersecurity, we look at the term cybersecurity, and the masses, the folks in our community, thinks of it as something too technical to understand. Folks, it's something that's very simple, and it's something that humans have looked into for thousands of years, since the beginning of time, before there was ever technology. And that is fighting against scammers and fraudsters. That's what we need to do in order to do that. Scammers and fraudsters are the ones that we try to fight against, and we need to do that by understanding what hackers do and how to prevent it. One of the best ways to do that is to understand social engineering. Now, scammers and fraudsters, we're going to get into that concept and what that means. So this lecture will talk more about the human centric focus more than the hardware and software part of it. We will explore concepts when it comes to the human factor, like trust, urgency, right? The fear behind it, how scammers and fraudsters, I'll use that term because that's what people understand, scammers and fraudsters over cyber criminals, right? They're one and the same. They bypass technical defenses and target the human persons. Um, Coming phishing emails, we'll talk about some of the things that hackers use. Phishing emails, fake phone calls. If you guys remember back in the 70s and 80s, there was fake phone calls done at that time as well. We didn't have computers like we have now, right? So that's something we can relate to and understand that, hey, well, we've been here before. This is not new. Um, and impersonation attempts, right? We have imposters trying to impersonate a person. Again, this is something that's not new, folks. We only have added technology, and now with AI, it's becoming more automated. So, real world analogies. So let's take a look at this. Think of a con artist, right? We know what con artists are. Con artists have been around again for thousands of years. How they try to manipulate victims, and they stalk companies to try to take the company's data, finances, or reputation. Again, this is something not um, not new because of technology. It's something old that we do. Remember the scam phone calls from the 80s and 70s? Again, before technology. This was something that was done all before any of this stuff was done. Now, some of the most common types of social engineering tactics. These are tools that are used by hackers and bad guys, right? We'll look at phishing, and this is again is spelled phishing. It's like fishing, the fishing, like you're fishing with a fishing pole, but we call it phishing as a term used in the technical world of cyber, which means that you have fraudulent emails sent to individuals, and you're trying to get someone to click on a link or an attachment within the email that would have malware, which is another form of a software to attack their computer systems. We have pretexting, right, where attackers create fabricated scenarios to steal sensitive information or data. right? We have baiting, enticing a victim with something attractive. Okay, now again, think about this. Again, under baiting, which is a part of the tactics of social engineering, baiting is something, again, that existed 3,000 or 5,000 years ago, right? Enticing a victim to do something that they're attracted to, like free software. How many of you have heard of the term snake oil salesman? Right? That's a tactic that was used again millennial ago. It's the same thing we have in cyber, same thing we have now in modern day. But they were using it by using free software. Give me a free software program supposed to help you out, help your computer system. Just click here and it'll help you fight against viruses. And it turns out to be the virus that you want to avoid. Tailgating, gaining physical access by following authorized person into a restricted area. Now, think of this one. This is one I talk about a lot in my training um, around the world. When, let's say, especially now we have Uber and Lyft, right? People have delivery coming through their office. How many of you out there, even in your homes, have a process procedure there available to you when someone delivers a box of pizza, let's say a stack of pizza boxes, right? They're knocking on the door saying, "Hey, we have pizza delivery here from," they can use any fake name. Let's just say, for example, Pizza Hut, right? Person dressed up in a Pizza Hut outfit. You can buy any type of outfit that looks like the restaurant online. Knocks on the door of a corporation, states they have a delivery for pizza. Since the company has had deliveries there before, if the person's not trained at the front door of understanding their role and responsibility, they will allow this person into the office. Now, the scammer, fraudster, we're going to use those names, will then take those pizza boxes and ask the question, could you show me where your break room is? I have this delivery to make. They'll then will escort this person to the break room, could be down the hall, on the elevator, wherever. They'll allow the pizza boxes there, and then as they're walking back, they're now doing what we call in the military reconnaissance, right? Looking around, seeing what open access points they could deploy either a USB drive or see where the open weaknesses in the organization to come back later to rob the place or take advantage of vulnerabilities. This is all things that have been done before. And this is what now hackers use technology to take advantage of it. Again, did I say anything about hardware, software? Nope. It's all by the human factor. These are just some of the tactics that are used by these bad guys. Now, in our next slide, we talk about why social engineering works. Why does it work? Again, folks, the psychology. Psychology triggers exploited, right? Something that's said to you that's urgent, act now or face the consequences, right? You're um, it's an urgent request. Again, same thing that the snake oil salesperson would do, same thing that a fake phone call you'd get. Authority, the manager must speak to you right away, or the IRS is looking for you, right? Getting people to make a quick move before they know what's going on. Scarcity, for limited time only, for employees only. Fear, your account has been compromised. These are all languages that have been used for centuries to manipulate human beings to get them to do certain aspects, to divulge information. Human vulnerability factors, lack of training and awareness. That's it right there, folks. Right? Overworked and distressed employees. Absolutely. Trust in known brands or familiar names. That's another one right there. You think of a person's name, that person sounds familiar, and then that's how people are manipulated. Right? So the key takeaways. Technologies can block malware, but only awareness can stop manipulation. Right? Think about that, folks. And as Austin Powers says, avoid the scams and fraudsters, folks, especially the work at home scam. That's another huge one that's going on out there. So, with that said, I have a little video to show you that's from a company that developed this little video regarding social engineering. Let's see what we have here. Probably have to get past the commercial here for. There
Has
we go.
This ever happened
Can you
to
hear me
you?
okay?
You get a text message claiming your debit card may have been used for a fraudulent purchase. The text is urgent and instructs you to text or call a number before more fraudulent charges are posted to your account. You want to stop someone from stealing from you, so it seems like the smart thing to do, right? Wrong. Doing what seems like the right thing in this case is the wrong thing. Why? Because you have been targeted by cybercriminals through social engineering. Social engineering is a manipulation technique used by cybercriminals. It's where they try to trick you into revealing sensitive information like passwords or credit card data. They may urge you to click on a link or download an attachment or app which will spread malware. They may even try to use you to gain access to restricted systems at your workplace. As with most cybercrime, the purpose of social engineering is to steal information or money from individuals, or to sabotage businesses by disrupting or corruption data. Social engineering is based on human behavior and emotions, how you think and act. Let's look at the 3 traits of a social engineering attack that play on your emotions. Trait number 1. Heightened emotions. You are more likely to make an irrational or risky choice when you're feeling emotional. For example, you may feel afraid or angry if you get a text claiming someone has used your debit card. You may feel excited or curious if you get an email or a pop-up in your browser claiming you've won something. Trait number 2, urgency. Most fraudulent texts and emails are worded to sound urgent. Your action is required immediately, or else you may lose out, or something disastrous could happen. Rushing you into a decision overrides your critical thinking ability, which can lead to the real disaster. Trait number 3, trust. If an email comes from what seems like a trusted source, double-check the URL of the site. Cybercriminals mimic branded websites and logos, but closer inspection usually reveals the website name is slightly different or the images are low resolution. Now that you know the traits of a social engineering attack, you can be on your guard when and where it happens. A social engineering attack can target you through your email, text message, or automated voice message. Attacks through websites include DNS spoofing, which redirects your browser to malicious sites, or scareware. Scareware uses false warnings that your computer has been infected in order to scare you into purchasing fraudulent cybersecurity software that contains malware. In extreme cases, an attack can be a physical breach of security at a company. Criminals may pose as employees or vendors, or may ask you to hold a door open to a restricted area while they carry something in. If you suspect you are being targeted with a social engineering attack, play it cool and take a moment to ask yourself these security questions. Are my emotions heightened? Did this come from a legitimate person? Or does the email address use characters that mimic others? Would my friend send this? Does the website have an irregular URL, low-resolution photos, or contain typos? Does the offer sound too good to be true? Does the attachment or link name seem odd or vague? Can this person prove their identity? Be proactive about your privacy and security on your desktop and mobile devices. Playing it cool when you get urgent messages, and never sharing your sensitive information is a good place to start. Now that you recognize social engineering, you can avoid it. Protect yourself from social engineering with Kaspersky's.
All right, so that's example of social engineering. So now we move into the case studies. Now I'm going to give you some a local case study here regarding a cyber attack that was used by social engineering. Those of you may remember the MGM attack that happened here in our city of Las Vegas, Nevada, a couple times. This is not just once, and this is a multi-million dollar, if not over $1 billion organization, international organization, folks, with the best sophisticated IT teams in the world. And they were manipulated by cyber criminals, or as we call it now, scammers and fraudsters, right? And think about it. If they can get this large corporation and manipulate them, imagine what they can do to your small mom and pop shop, an individual, a parent, a student, and anyone who has information that they are storing on their hard drive. So if you look at this particular threat, I'll just summarize this for you. This particular article here, and it basically talks about the cyber attack that happened between Caesar's Palace and the MGM back in 2023, right? This incident was done by a hacking group called Scattered Spider, where they exploited social engineering tactics to compromise secure systems. And they were able to get to the Caesar's Palace to pay them approximately $15 million in ransom. $15 million, folks. Think about that. If that would have been a physical attack by bringing in armored criminals into an organization, that would have been all over the news. But no, this was done by a group of younger folks too, right? The group of hackers who did this caused operations to lose over $100 million in losses. And then, notably, back in 2019, a few years before, MGM was hacked again, the first time that is. And over 10.6 million guests had their information compromised as well. It was done by manipulating the technical support, the software support desk. The hackers had enough information to pretend as a impersonator to impersonate one of the supervisors within the organization. And they did this and was able to acquire the passwords that are needed to get access to the system. Once they got access to the other parts of the organization, why they then went in to change the security administrative passwords to all other managers within the organization, caused them to be locked out of their system. And it was just amazing type of an attack that happened. But again, folks, they had the best hardware and software that money could buy within this organization, but it was still broken by the human factor. So types of social engineering attacks, as we spoke of before, we're talking about the psychological manipulation using social engineering to exploit human behavior. We talked about the common tactics. We gave examples of pretexting, phishing, and baiting. And we'll also get into how can you protect yourself against these type of attacks and what you should do and what to be precaution of as well. But before we go through, I'm going to give you another example here in this video, folks, of a live attack, right? I want everyone to get a feel of what it's like to actually see a live attack happening. So this is something very interesting. Check out this attack. And Brenda, give me a thumbs up if you can hear this okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Protect your family's dreams under our roof. American Family Insurance.
Better, faster, cheaper. You can only pick two, right? Well, Finn, Intercom's AI.
What do you think of when I say the word hacker? Some creepy dude in a basement? Well, that's a misconception. What if I told you there's a class of hackers who don't just have social skills, they have more social intelligence than anyone you'll ever meet? David Kennedy is one of them. He's what's known as a social engineer, or a people hacker. His craft is to dupe you into doing things and sharing information you probably shouldn't.
Can I just get your credit card number?
Some use it for illegal activity. In David's case, companies pay him to find out if employees are leaving the company vulnerable. He and his team show us how it's done. Step 1, spoof his number so it looks like he's calling from inside the company, and then call tech support.
Hello, you there? Hello?
Hi, this is Ken. How may I help you?
I was wondering if you can take a look at a website I'm trying to get to. It's for a big customer thing I'm working on for Monday, and I can't seem to get to the website from my computer.
Sure. What's the website? I'll see if I can get to it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate the help. I mean, it could be a stupid thing. I'm really stuck with computers, but so it's www.survey. That's SURVEY -pro.com.
Yeah, I got a prompt to open. I just clicked open, and I'm at the site now.
Here's what the IT guy doesn't realize. By clicking that link, he's just given David full access to his computer.
Whoa, okay, that's weird. I just hit it and it seems like it's working fine now. Awesome. I don't know what you did, man, but I really appreciate the help.
Hey, no problem. That was easy.
That was it?
We're on this computer right now.
You were able to take over this guy's computer within, I would say, like
under 2 minutes.
Under 2 minutes, yeah. Under 2 minutes, took over his entire computer, and think of it as not just his computer, but it's pretty much a downfall of the entire company.
In this case, the company was paying David to hack them and see if their employees would fall for it. They did. To show you this demo, we agreed not to use the company's name. Kennedy Hacks to Protect. He's part of a growing number of hackers using this skill for good. Josh Corman's one of them too. He started a group to help bridge the gap between hackers and big companies.
Hacking is a form of power. Not surprisingly, as you walked into my house and saw all the Spider-Man stuff, I'm a big fan of the Stan Lee line of with great power comes great responsibility. We're coming to a point where the outside world, with a breach a week, a breach a day, affecting people's personal lives and national security, we got to grow up a bit, and we need to be very deliberate about how we use that power.
Corman formed the group after his mom passed away.
She was my science teacher. She kind of taught me that darkness is the absence of light, cold is the absence of heat. You know, if you see something missing in the world, maybe it's our job to put it there. I think the world's going to be whatever we want it to be, and whatever we make it. There are very, very bad people, which means it falls to the good people to try to fight it.
You feel like you have a very personal responsibility.
We have so much potential to shape our culture, our values, our safety. If not us, then who?
Wow. So that's an example of a cyber attack and human manipulation within an organization. And that was a very similar type of attack that happened with the MGM and Caesars with tech support. Again, if it happened to large corporations, just think about your company and how easy they could be manipulated as well. So let's talk about some preventive strategies, right? Prevention. What can we do? As we state here in our slide, education is to empower, building the human firewall. A human firewall, folks, and you may have heard that term used in your organization when they think of your laptop or your smartphone. But we're talking about now building a human firewall. And this is done through training and awareness, right? These are some of the things that I'm recommending and other cybersecurity experts around the world are recommending as well. You need to conduct regular cybersecurity training. It should be a culture within an organization to have awareness training built in. Use real world case studies. In other words, always keep on top of what's going on in your industry and the industry in your community when it comes to cyber threats and the key roles that you could play. Teach your employees how to recognize red flags when it comes to emails, texting, phone calls. And as a Federal Trade Commission, FTC says, think before you click. Have a think before you click culture. Empower engagement tools, monthly micro-learning sessions, gamified phishing testing, and security tips of the week emails. But this is, again, this is all good because you can put the software out there to get people to go through companies like KnowBe4, which is my company. We're a reseller for KnowBe4, which is a great program to help your employees learn cybersecurity education training. But we still need to talk to each other at a human level to understand what's going on and not to be in a silo in front of a laptop for training. We need to have the water cooler, if you would, conversations, the networking when it comes to these type of attacks. Next, verify before you trust, right? Implementing smart protocols, right? Authentication and verification, two-factor authentication. Require callback procedure for sensitive requests. See that, folks? Require callback procedures. This is a policy that should be implemented into organizations, right? Someone requesting for money, you make sure you have several layers of approval before you click on that button to transfer any funds from one account to another or pay anybody, any vendor as well. I've seen, just to pause here for a second, I've seen attacks where the scammers and fraudsters, right, we'll use those terms, would actually manipulate the accounting software once they hack into an organization and slide in a fake vendor. So as the companies go through and pay all their vendors on a project, there's thousands of them to be paid, they'll slide in a fake vendor in that list to be paid with a small amount of money so it doesn't look suspicious, because they've analyzed all the accounts payable transactions, data. That's how I started out. I started out as a programmer for accounting software, and that's where I learned about how these hacking attacks can happen at the accounting software level, right? Hackers would put in fake vendors, fake requests, and it would look very, very normal to be a part of a process or a job, and they'll end up getting paid. And they would, back in the day, they would have checks printed out, right? And the scammers would take the check and go to the bank and cash it. Now they're doing wire transfers where they'll transfer the money from one account to another. And if it could be transferred if it's a large amount of money, they'll transfer the account to one account to another to a bank, get the monies there, withdraw, and then close the account out where it can't be traced back, or have fraudulent information at the bank as well that the bank doesn't even know. Right? Hackers are always scheming up ways to do this. Thirdly, we need to enforce a zero trust approach. It says verify, identify before giving access. That means don't trust anyone in your company, not even your boss. Your boss says, okay, my laptop's down. Could I borrow your laptop to log into our system? I'm sorry, boss. I can't allow you to do that. It's not policy. And if they insist, have them sign a contract. CYA on your side, right? Always have to verify that and make sure you don't share your credentials with anybody in your organization. Practice defenses, right? Email banners flagging external messages. Password managers to avoid unused or phishing baits. Call ID, right? Your phone, call ID, and sending verification for financial or HR communications. Hackers are using any way of communicating with a human. They are trying to manipulate you to get access to your data. Strengthen your policies. Make security a responsibility for everyone in your organization. Policy enforcements. Define and enforce clear, acceptable use policies. Restrict data access based on the job roles, least privilege model. Log and monitor internal activities for signs of insider manipulation. That's right. Definitely, that's a good thing to do. We need to make sure that's done. Establish the easy to report aspect of a corporation. Conduct simulated attacks. Include social engineering risk in organization with business continuity planning. Cybersecurity isn't just an IT job. It's an everybody job. It really is. Everybody has a responsibility to be a part of it. Objective, best practices for digital security. As we've spoken before, having a strong password. So let me throw in a little bit of cybersecurity in here that can help people here. Make sure it's very important. Our first line of defense is make sure we have a strong password when we are going through any websites that have sensitive information or data assets that's of any value. Multi-factor authentications, right? Make sure when you log into a system that your phone is a second way to authenticate yourself. Use a password manager, and of course, practice safe email practices within your company.
I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
When you were talking, go back to your last slide.
Sure.
You were talking about the importance of strong password creation. Is that also, I think I've heard passphrases or sentences?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you think of a passphrase, that should be at the higher arc level, at your top main access to your password manager, for example. Your password manager's job is to encrypt all the other sites that you visit, your user ID and your password. And the other sites could be websites that you visit, your medical websites, your bank, your phone company, your work, all of those. Anything you purchase or buy, for example, Amazon or in your online purchase merchants, you should have a password, a long password. I think I have a slide in that too about how your password should be set up. But to manage all of those different sites, you should have a password manager. But to manage your password manager, you should have a passphrase.
Okay.
That's at the top level. And your passphrase is an English sentence, something simple that you can understand. So I love sailing. I do enjoy biking. that's an example of a passphrase, right? You would create your own, but you would have it as an English sentence, as something easy for you to remember. It could be a goal that you want to establish in the next 5 years or the next year, for example. Let's say you have a statement, a goal statement you want to have in your life over the next year. You create a passphrase for that. And reason I said a goal for the year, because once that year is done and that goal is completed, you're going to change it again. And by changing your password, your passphrase, that is, you'll now have a new passphrase there that you can utilize with a new goal for the next year. So yes,
Oh, okay. And so
it's
this
higher
is
level.
something that only you know, or so that you don't have to think about it, you already know what it is. But a hacker would have a very difficult time, and partly because it's coming from your head, and partly because it's long. It's not four numbers, but it could be, 32 characters. Am I on the right track?
You're absolutely right. Yes. Oh, you followed me well over the years. That's absolutely,
I have,
that's
and I'm
very
still
good.
here.
Yep, that's very good. That's exactly the difference between a passphrase and a password. Again, the passphrase is at the higher level for all of your particular devices working for you, like your router at home, your password manager. That's where you would use your passphrase for. Your password is what you'd use, would be stored within your password manager. And your password manager's job is to encrypt your passphrase and your passwords to make it hard for hackers to have access to sensitive information. Make sense?
Okay. Yes, and I
Yeah.
was just thinking about, the
Mhm.
difference between dealing with an MGM and dealing with my baby company
Right.
is that I don't have all of those IT. I don't have any IT people. So just knowing these simple things and how hackers think helps me and helps business owners to be able to say, let me keep my eyes and ears open and recognize what's going on, because we don't have a lot of funds, and if somebody attacks us, that literally could put us out of business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, we use the MGM as the example. If hackers can hack $1 billion corporation, just imagine with a smaller corporation what they can do without that type of funds or setup or policies put in place.
Right.
So yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So, we have a group activity here. So anyone that's on the call or someone that may have looked at the pre-recording of this video, I'd like you to go to a website called Have I Been Pwned, PWNED.com. And what you do is you enter your email address. And by entering your email address in this website, you will see if your email address was involved in any previous companies that have been hacked. And if your email does show up, the first line of defense you should do is to change your password. Basically, change your password. So what happens is, as the website has been hacked, and the company that created this website collects all types of companies that have been hacked, and with emails and passwords that have been stolen by the scammers and fraudsters. And you should also check both your private, your personal website, your personal email, that is, as well as your business emails also. All right, so as we go through that, so back to your particular information there, Brenda, is you asked a question about passwords, and here's a chart we have here about passwords, right? So if we look at the number of characters that are in a password, this column represents the number of characters you have in your password, and the farthest one to the far right here talks about if your password consists of numbers, upper, lowercase letters, and a symbol. This is how long it would take hackers to hack you. If you have only 5 digits long, instantly I'll find it. If you use a recommended of 12 characters or more, look at that. 34,000 years it would take a hacker to hack in today's technology. Okay. Tomorrow we're talking about quantum technology, quantum computers. It's going to be even faster for them to hack your account. But for today, we're looking at 34,000 years. So if you create a passphrase and your passphrase is 12 characters or more, and as I mentioned, it could be an English sentence, it could be a goal that you have for the year that it's on your mind, something positive. I always think of abundance and over scarcity, right? And you have that in your mind and you use that as your main passphrase to access your password manager and your router to your computer as well at home. This will give you what information you need to protect yourself. Now, within your password manager can create, let's say, a 16-digit character for you. And look at that. 1 trillion years, according to this list here. Now, your password manager can create a long password that's so many characters in it, like upper and lower case. It's like as we were growing up as kids, my mother would say, spell Mississippi, M-I, crooked letter I, P-P-I, right? Something like you would have a long password set up, but your password manager, its job is to create these complicated passwords and save them for you. So that's one of the things that a benefit you would have by using a password manager. All right. So, and I saw a look in your face. Is there something you noticed when I have been pawned there?
Well, I'm so fascinated that um, I think this is so complicated, yet I look at this and go, okay, wait a minute, there's some simple things that I can do
Right.
to
Absolutely.
protect myself.
Absolutely. Yes. Like we said in our slide here, make sure you have at least 12 characters long in your password or passphrase, right? And tips: use the password manager to store information. Regular updates. So like I was mentioning to you by setting up on how to set up a passphrase, think of it as a year goal or a 6-month goal, 6-month statement. And then after that 6 months is completed, you change it for a new statement, a new goal, as you change your password manager.
Okay, so I love that idea. What happens if somebody gets your email address? You can't just change that every 6 months. So how do you handle that piece?
By changing your email password every 6 months.
You
Yes.
keep your email address, but they can't get in because of the password. Okay,
Just like you at your house.
I got it. The noodle got it.
Yeah, just like your house. You lost your car keys. What do? Do you replace your entire door? No, you get another key made. You change the lock. You don't move the house.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So everything is attached
Mhm.
to that, and that's literally what the password is. That is the key, right?
Yep.
It's
Yep.
the key to get in.
Password is the key to get in, correct. And the
Okay.
passphrase is your main key to get in. All right. So as you said, leveraging resources for security. This is additional things that I think that, again, we're going to the hardware and software again. But make sure you have antivirus software on your smartphone or your laptops. You have firewalls put in. And again, if you don't know what these are, definitely consult your cybersecurity person within your organization. Virtual private network. This gives you extra layer of security when you are on sites like a coffee shop or hotel. And of course, backup data regularly. If you have data in the cloud, it should be backed up, probably on an external device. If you are saying, oh, well, my data is backed up to the cloud, well, you need to see that happen. You need to do a test, or as we call it, a fire drill in the industry, to make sure that you're taking preventative precautions just in case if it ever happens. Okay, so what does a attack look like? Let's give you an example here. This again, I used this example before on my presentations. The reason why is because it's so it's new, because hackers are now looking for other ways to get to us. text messaging is becoming a incredible way of communicating between the humans beings, right? And hackers are using ways to do that. So they're attacking our SMS messages or text messaging and sending fake messages like they've come from your bank. So in other words, if a hacker hacks into your account and finds out that you bank with, in this example here, Wells Fargo, rather than sending you a fake email from Wells Fargo asking you to click onto a link, they will send you an SMS message from Wells Fargo. Now, if you don't have a Wells Fargo account, well, obviously the hacker is wasting their time sending it to that person, but they'll find what your account, what banks you have access to, and send you a link from that bank. And the next one to the right is example one coming from Chase. Now, I mention this because this is my computer, my phone here, that this came through. I don't have a Chase account, but when I saw this on my phone, I thought, content. I'm going to use this for my trading session. So I took a picture of it to share with you folks so you could actually see that this is a text message coming in from Chase Bank. Now, if I happen to have been a customer of Chase Bank, I would have absolutely not clicked on this. I would have contacted Chase Bank directly and not clicked on the link and see if this communication was meant for me or not. All right, so Professor Jackson here has a question for everyone. Question: which of the following is the most effective line defense against social engineering attacks in the workplace? A, installing antivirus software. B, implementing, that is, a biometric access system. That means a thumbprint. C, conducting regular employee cybersecurity awareness training. Or D, using encrypted emails for all external communication. Now, again, the question is the most effective. And this is
I'm going for C.
Do 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 do. Okay, I just wanted to sing that for a second.
Yeah, I'm going for C. Well, I'm a trainer, so I think that the way that you keep people involved is to constantly be giving them the right information and giving it to them often. One and done is not an option.
Correct. As we move on, the correct answer is C. And the rationale is that while technology plays important roles, social engineering exploits human behavior. Regular interactive training helps employees recognize and respond to deceptive tactics before danger occurs. Our next slide. To use this QR code, and it gives me feedback of what they think of the presentation, what they thought of it, and how I've done as a instructor, professor dealing with this exercise. So go ahead, ask me a question if you may have any there from.
Well, it's more of a comment than a question.
Sure.
Knowing that the hackers are out here doing this is very scary. Knowing that there are hackers out here who are following this and being able to find those places to block the bad guys or the bad actors, I think is the terminology. That is so encouraging.
Well, absolutely.
And so we know I'm not really good with this whole IT stuff. So, but am I correct that the black hats are the bad guys and the white hats are the good guys?
In that the media world, yes.
Okay. Correct. So that vernacular is okay.
Yes.
But it's just so nice to know that there actually are people who know as much or more than the guys who are trying to do the bad stuff. And they're out here trying to help us, just like you are trying to help us understand our responsibility. It's not up to somebody else. It's really up to us, because somebody can't help us if we don't know what's going on.
That's correct. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's important that we stay aware of this and know who the enemy is, right? And sometimes it's us.
I do have another question, though.
Sure.
sometimes you get these things and you know that they really look bad, or I mean they don't, they're not anything that you're interested in. They may not look bad to you, but you're not interested in them. And it says you can go to unsubscribe. Is that a good way to handle those kinds of emails, or should they just be blocked?
Well, I would say the best way is to block them. And a lot of email programs have filters that can filter out emails that are scammers, that are scams. So if you have those types of applications within filters built in your emails, you can block certain ones out. Because you're right, it's been known that some hackers would use this as a phishing attack, but it's a reverse phishing. They'll send you an email, and if you click on to unsubscribe, you're basically sending a note back to whoever the server is, good or bad guy, that the email is correct, but they don't want to have your information anymore. So they're verifying the email address. But by blocking it, your filter will not allow that email to come past the blocking gate to get to you.
Okay, so that's like we're setting up our own little firewall.
So to speak, yes, correct.
Okay. And then if you go to something and you unsubscribe, then the way you get around that is making sure that that email password has been updated.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, this is scary. This is scary, Matt, because I think I'm learning something.
You're right. It is definitely scary. Definitely scary for sure.
But I have to say, on behalf of all of us who are learning this as we go, we're all in different stages of our knowledge levels, and it's for some of us this is a refresher. For some of us, this is an, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this was going on. So I so much appreciate you coming in and talking to us about this. This is definitely going to stay in our virtual classroom because it is so necessary. And for people who are watching this after this class has finished live and you're watching it in our virtual classroom, I am going to tell them to please feel free to get in touch with you to ask whatever questions they need to ask. They could ask me, but they won't like the answers because my answer is, I don't know.
Well, like it says here, cybersecurity is for everyone, right? In today's digital age, cybersecurity is not just a concern of tech experts, it's a concern for everybody. So that's why everybody has to play a role in understanding how they can help prevent these types of cyber threats. Like we say here, starting by adopting a cybersecurity habits, strong passwords we talked about, and continuous training, two-factor authentication, very, very important to use. And as they take a look at this, they should attend any events they have within their organization or their communities regarding cybersecurity awareness to stay on top of what's going on. Make sure you educate yourself and others about the emergency threats, including your children as well as the elderly, to make sure they understand, because the hackers are going after the most vulnerable groups to get access to a larger part of the bell curve. By integrating the cybersecurity practices on a daily basis, you can have more of a safe line of protect yourself, as we stated before. It is very, very important we do that to protect our data. I want to thank UNR Extension and Brenda for this opportunity to provide cybersecurity. Remember, cybersecurity isn't just protecting data. It's about protecting people. And the more we talk about it, the stronger we can become in our community and protect our community. Thank you very much, Brenda, for this time. If anyone would like to follow up with me about cybersecurity, you can find me at macjacksonjr.com or join my newsletter at macjacksonjr.substack.com. And I have 2 books.
Your television program.
Say again?
What about your television program?
Oh, yes, that's right. All of my TV shows, Cybersecurity Awareness TV. You'll find that also on YouTube and on the Roku network as well with the WWDB TV network. I have 2 books also that you can find on my website called The Ultimate Guide to Password Security and Cybersecurity for Non-Techies. Absolutely. Thank you again, Brenda. Appreciate your opportunity. I look forward to doing more with you and helping out the educating community on cybersecurity.
I'm looking forward to the next classes when we talk about when do we call people like you? When do we start picking the brains of the experts because we have used up all of the basic knowledge that we have. So we want you to know that will be the 3rd part of our series. And Mac Jackson Jr., thank you absolutely so much for the knowledge that you're sharing with us, from the awareness piece in the first session to what these crazy hackers do, but maybe they're not so crazy, and what we need to do to be able to counter them is so appreciative. And in the 3rd session, we'll be talking about when do we call a pro and why. So thank you very much. Thank you all for joining us. And please use this information. It is helpful. Take care, Matt.
Thank you, brother. Anytime.